One of the questions you may be asking yourself as you start or you continue on this journey of being sober is, how does anyone live sober in such a wet world, right? Because alcohol's everywhere, everywhere, all the time. Two things that people say to me when they start working with me, when they first get on a call, they say, Veronica, where I live, where I live, people really drink where I live. And they also say, in my industry, people really drink in my industry. And I'm going to tell you, it's not true. Where you live and everywhere, people really drink. And they really drink in every industry. I want to say, sure, there's definitely industries that, like hospitality, for example, has quite high rates of substance abuse. But I want to tell you, I work with people from all over the world and in every single profession. And drinking is everywhere. I want to say also, I feel that, like, since back in the day when I first started drinking as a teenager, like, alcohol has inserted itself into more places, right? I mean, one of the things that drives me nuts is, I remember when I was living in New York, like going past yoga studios, and they'd be like, Friday, yoga and wine, Saturday morning, yoga and mimosas. These are not two things that go together. Yoga and wine are not two things that go together. However, we have put them together, and we have alcohol just inserts itself into everything. Parenting is the other thing. It is mommy needs wine. Alcohol is branded, and we speak about it as if it's a parenting aid. It is not a parenting aid. So I want to talk about how to be sober in such a wet world when it is everywhere, because you can't avoid it. I mean, you can minimize it to a certain degree, sure, but you can't avoid it. I mean, you just can't. And we have to be able to function in a wet world. We have to be able to live our lives and be sociable and not be triggered and not be bothered about it and not notice it. And I promise you all those things can happen. And I'll teach you a little bit about how to get started on that today. If you want to get started today, please check out the Breakthrough Program. Check out the link below. I have a whole digital course that will help you put weight on the sober end and live in a wet world and deal with all those triggers and cravings and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to talk about, first of all, alcohol, what I call alcohol assumption. Alcohol assumption is the assumption that everybody drinks. And I'll give you an example of this. This was quite a few years ago. My husband was working at a university. He worked in the business school, and we had a dinner, some kind of dinner. It was an award ceremony. There were lots of students were being honored. So first of all, we're at a university. Students are being awarded something. So you can assume some of those people would be under 21, right? We were sitting at a table. There was myself, my husband, who he rarely drinks, once in a blue moon. We were sitting with our, I kid you not, our Mormon friends and our Muslim friends. So three people who didn't drink for three different reasons. And at the end of the meal, they brought dessert, and I tasted it and was like, this has alcohol in it. Like, raw alcohol, not alcohol that's been cooked off. And I was like, I tasted it, got my husband to taste it. I was like, I think this, like, we didn't know. We were like, does it have alcohol in it? We asked the server. They didn't really know. They had to go and ask the chef. It, like, took a whole bunch of people asking a bunch of questions. Go, yeah, actually, it does. It was actually some kind of tiramisu, but it didn't look like tiramisu, because I know tiramisu has raw alcohol in it. And I was really angry, because that's alcohol assumption. The assumption that everybody, and I know you can't, I mean, you could probably eat enough tiramisu to maybe be intoxicated, but one bowl of tiramisu is not going to get you drunk. But three people have very, very strong reasons as to why we don't ingest alcohol. Thank you very much. And we would like to know what, if we're presented with raw alcohol and it's hidden. So that's alcohol assumption. Another example is, I remember going on vacation with my mum to Cyprus. This was for her 70th birthday, so this would have been 15 years ago. And we finished dinner, and they brought over shots, and it was like some kind of lemony liquor. And my mum, again, barely drinks. I don't drink. And I was like, oh, no, thanks. And they were like, no. Here, you must have. I was like, no, no, no. I mean, I know, I understand it was shocking for them to have a British person turn down free alcohol. And they were like, no, no, it's free. It's free. And we were like, no, it took like 5 or 6 times of like, no, thank you. We don't drink, but thank you. And they were very confused and baffled by that. Again, it's the alcohol assumption. So it's just the assumption that everybody drinks alcohol. So we now, like, I have a son who is gluten-free. We have nut allergies. People are dairy-free. People are vegan. You can go all over the place and there'll be labels and signs everywhere that this contains nuts, or this contains dairy, or this contains soy. So you can make informed decisions about what you ingest, but not so with alcohol. There's just an assumption that everyone drinks alcohol. So I want to say, first of all, be aware of that. Like, just be like, certainly if you're going on vacation, that kind of thing, if you're going to a resort, that, you know, on a cruise, whatever, like, there's plenty of chances that you may be offered free alcohol. And I would almost expect that to happen and just be ready with an answer and a clear no thank you, expect to repeat it. That's a boundary, by the way. No thank you, expect to repeat it multiple times. And as long as you just affirm and thank you, but no thanks, if the person is hurt or confused or upset, that's not on you, right? That's their feelings. You're not responsible for their emotional experience. So I think being aware that this could happen is really important. Now, I have been sober in a wet world for well over 24 years at this point. Alcohol doesn't really register for me, but it will at the beginning, right? We really do notice it at the beginning. And a lot of this is because of our filter system, right? We have a filter system where we just kind of see things that are in alignment with our beliefs, right? And if I believe alcohol is the best way to have fun, I'm just going to see things that support that, which means I'm going to see alcohol everywhere. It takes a little bit of time for that filter system to adjust, to filter out that you just don't notice it. And you really don't. I mean, like, I kind of notice it. I mean, okay, let me explain how it is. It's like, I mean, it's not that I don't know that someone's drinking a bottle of wine. It just doesn't, it's the same way I might be like, there's a dog over there, right? There's a palm tree over there. There's a whatever. It's like, I know it's there, but it doesn't impact me or register or anything like that. Some of that is, it just takes time. It takes time for your filter system to adjust. At the beginning, you will notice it everywhere, all the time. That's because your filter system is looking for it, because you've trained your brain for so many years to like, where's the drink? How much drink is left? Who's drinking, right? Your filter system is very used to it. So that will take some time, but it will go. It will begin to fade into the background. In the sort of first year or two, there will be, you know, sometimes there'll be like a moment of like, whoa, it's right there, it's right there. And there'll be other times when it's just, you know, it's you went to a party, you barely even noticed anybody was drinking or any of that kind of stuff. So some of this is time, but all of this is about having a shift in perception. And if you've listened to any of my work, that is the secret to sobriety, is having a shift in perception. A shift in perception means you just see everything differently. The world hasn't changed, it's still there. The world hasn't changed, but how you see the world has profoundly shifted. Now, these are things that I tell my clients to do in their first year or so, certainly in the first few months. Really bring your conscious mind, which is your awareness. And honestly, even journaling about this would be helpful. Notice when you feel good about not drinking. So notice Sunday morning. Notice how you feel Sunday morning. Like, be aware that you had a good night's sleep, that you're up early, that you're exercising, that whatever, right? Bring your awareness and notice how good it feels in your body to be alcohol free, right? That is how we begin this shift in perception. Notice people when they are drunk or hungover, because I'm going to tell you one thing that happens really fast. Drunk people are incredibly boring, and that will happen really quickly. Sure, you may start from a place of envy and kind of like, oh, it's not fair. But if you keep consistently putting weight on the sober end and working a program, by the way, there's a program in the link below that's going to help, that will begin to change. And drunk people are repetitive, pointless, they're just not interesting. So very quickly that becomes boring and like wanting to, like, I got sober when I was 27. I wanted to go out nightclubbing and dancing in my 20s. But there was a certain point I just didn't want to be around drunk people. So that was around 11:30 midnight. That was like the cutoff. I didn't want to be out later than that. People were not interesting. They were sloppy drunk. My husband has this saying, nothing good happens after midnight. And it's true, I think. So I would go home. I'd be able to drive home. I hadn't spent much money because I wasn't drinking alcohol. I was able to drive home. I didn't need to get an Uber or a taxi as it was back then. So noticing all of these benefits, so really bring your conscious mind, keeping a gratitude list of the benefits of that you didn't drink today is putting weight on the sober end. All of this will help. Noticing when people are hungover. We go to a timeshare every year at New Year's, and it's like an all-inclusive thing. And sometimes I'm kind of aware that people are drinking, and I'd say I'm more aware of people looking really hungover the next day. Like, I might be queuing up to buy something or just on the sun lounges. I just have this feeling of gratitude that I'm not doing that and I don't have to do that, and how much better I feel when I don't do that. So noticing when people are hungover, like, this is training your brain to see things and think differently. And over time, it just ceases to exist, right? I can go out to a bar or pub and, I just don't notice it. I mean, again, it's there, but I want to have my alcohol-free mocktail or a Diet Coke or a coffee or whatever it is. Like, it just, those triggers, those pathways from outside stimulus to internal trigger of wanting to have it, those will begin to fade away into the background. And then eventually you get to a place where it's just gratitude. It is like, I feel so much gratitude when I go and do something, like, for instance, a party or just being by the pool, in knowing I don't have to drink for that to be fun. Like, it's just fun being at the party or being by the pool. It's just fun. I don't need an enhancer. I don't need an aid. Like, those things don't make it fun. They make it less. They diminish that experience. And that's when your brain has completely shifted over to seeing things differently. Now, I've got tons of videos about this. Please check out all of the videos. I've got tons on YouTube, but I'll just repeat this again. We get all of this through consistency. Consistency leads to a shift in perception. That is the secret sauce. It's not a switch that flicks. It's not one event that happens. It's consistently having a practice that puts weight on the sober end, and that's what will get you and keep you sober. Let me know if this was helpful in the comments below. Take care.